Hi Andrew, what can we expect from both Labour and the Conservatives regarding net zero should they win the next general election?
If they win the next general election, Labour, I think, they are fully committed to net zero. In Ed Miliband, they look as if they will have an energy secretary who is a fervent believer in net zero. I have heard suggestions that actually, once Keir Starmer gets into power, assuming he does get into power, that he will actually not give that position to Ed Miliband because he is really so extreme that he will get the party into trouble fairly quickly. The Conservatives are a slightly different story. Obviously, they're very divided on the subject of net zero, and to some extent, it depends who survives. There are suggestions that most of the safest seats are in the hands of the Green wing of the Tory party, so that after the general election, the party may well remain committed. I think that will possibly be tempered by the horrible reality that they will have been wiped out because their core vote, which largely probably doesn't support net zero, has been so put off. And they may have to take a long, hard look at themselves and ask themselves, are they actually giving their supporters what they want? And the answer is probably no.
And we were due to have a Westminster Hall debate over the true cost of net zero next month, but with Parliament being dissolved at the end of this month, it looks like this will be at best delayed and if not totally cancelled until after the election. So will the next government be able to avoid debate over the true cost of net zero?
I hope they won't be able to avoid the debate, and I think we are going to try to keep pressure on them to tell the truth. I think there is, to some extent, there are major concerns that actually the problems here about telling the truth about these things. The numbers are compiled by the civil servants, and the civil servants are very green, and they are emotively committed to decarbonisation. And they don't want to tell the truth, because if the truth gets told, then decarbonisation looks like utter madness. So the civil servants in the energy department are trying to keep a lid on things by pretending simultaneously that we should give wind farms huge price rises, but at the same time that wind is really cheap to produce. They can't genuinely have it both ways. So that contradiction is very stark, and it is very difficult for them to try to maintain it without looking completely dishonest. So yeah, hopefully we can pin them down after the general election, but it is a hard thing to do. Civil servants are wily and will hide from the attention.
And finally, most people are expecting a Labour victory. It's just a matter of how much. And there is some talk about the possibility of a hung parliament. How would these different shades of victory impact the drive to meet a net zero by 2050?
I think, as I've said before, if you get a hung parliament and some sort of a coalition coming together, it's most likely to be something like Labour and Greens or Labour and Lib Dems or maybe all three. I don't suppose Labour would go into coalition with the Conservatives. They will therefore be committed to trying to pursue net zero, but the contradictions are so stark now, they just won't be able to do it for very long, and they will have to reverse course within a couple of years. So, I don't think it makes much difference who gets into power. We will pursue net zero for a little bit longer, and then the wheels are going to come off completely. That's inevitable.
Andrew Montford, Director of Net Zero Watch, thank you for joining us.
Thank you.